Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, as you can tell by the title, we will be talking about a potential for a very large system across the United States come this upcoming weekend. I know it's still far away, but it's a very big potential. The models have been rather consistent on its occurring, right? Obviously the details of it, whether or not it's more northern, southern, to any given point, it's all over the place, but there looks to be a pretty big system. It could have some significant icing potential across a given portion of the United States, some severe weather as well. But I also will be going over the more short-term things, like the snow across the Midwest and the Northeast. Why do these two areas have so many winter weather advisories? Why are there hydraulic or hydrologic outlooks for central Indiana? Why is there so much advisories and warnings out across the West, right? And look at some of those cold temperatures right there with those wind chill warnings. I'll show you them. They're going to make your bones chill just by looking at them. But before we do get into this video, I do want to say that if you are a new and returning, or if you're a new or returning viewer, right, check out the videos, watch the channel, see if you do enjoy it, and if you haven't subscribed yet, obviously if you are subscribed, this doesn't apply to you, but if you haven't, consider subscribing, consider liking the video, see if it's worthy of a subscription, right? And let's get on with the weather show, or the weather talk. And I do these videos every day just for anyone that is new here. Yeah, maybe I skip a day once in a while, but it's pretty much daily. So I clicked on this area because I wanted to show you some of this cold weather, and let me show you this. So let's take a look at Glasgow, okay? Not Scotland. Let's take a look at Montana, and you can see that the wind chills are obviously going to be insane. But look at the temperatures by themselves, just a negative 26 today. And look, that's not just one night across these areas, right? Montana is an extreme state. Sometimes it could get hundreds. These areas did get hundreds in the summer, and now look, negative 22, negative 25, negative 21. Wind chills obviously horrendously low, negative 30 to negative 40. This is dangerous, if not deadly, if you're caught outside in this for, say, an hour or two. I don't know what the cause may be, but yeah, it's, I guess these folks are used to it to an extent. But I think there's going to be a lot more of these invasions in the coming kind of near future. I do want to show you that with that previous system yesterday, I always do this as well, kind of recap previous storms. If you recall, there was a snowstorm across the United States that I was talking about in yesterday's video. How did it perform? Well, I would say it overperformed for a vast majority of the Minnesota area. You can see there are amounts over 18 inches, which is rather remarkable. It was supposed to be a significant event, but maybe not to the extent this was. So I would say it's slightly overperformed. You can see North Dakota got a generous 8 to 12 inches. Minneapolis kind of got the short end of the stick, but you could still see a 2 to 4 inch event was reported, especially north, obviously, of the city. Wisconsin got a decent bit in some areas, also overperforming. You can see right there, almost 3 inches by La Crosse. I was here in Illinois, right in Chicago, and let me tell you, the thunderstorms we had yesterday were very odd, to say to say the least. Some of the storms that came through obviously have very heavy rain. They had thunder, which just sounds weird in December, but they also had tons of hail. I mean, at one point it was non-damaging hail, but it was so much of it that it looked as if it snowed. I mean, it was hail flowing everywhere. The water was really an experience that I haven't experienced in a while. And hail during a winter thunderstorm does occur a bit more easily, as there's colder air up aloft. It's easier to produce that hail. It doesn't have to be so severe, that storm. And you can see that across the west. Look at that, 126 inches. I'm assuming that's kind of the storm totals for past several days. And yeah, those amounts have been repeated throughout much of the western United States. You can see Seattle almost picked up 6 inches right there, and just a very active and stormy pattern for a given portion of the United States. Now it's time to bring that snow further south, and I do want to show you that there are winter weather advisories. Let me go back to National Weather Service for these areas. Let me just click on southern Wisconsin. There is a chance for around 1 to 3, maybe 4 inches of snow across some areas. You can see this will be falling very heavily and very quickly, and very wet snow, and once it stops, it will be done. I mean, it's a pretty quick hitter, but it will, while it's while it's occurring, it's gonna feel like a blizzard, or there's not gonna be blizzard conditions because it's not gonna be windy enough, but it's gonna be coming down fast and hard. And you can see some amounts, especially up towards the north, could get up to 3 to 6, maybe even 7 inches of snowfall. And obviously there's cold also making its way into the northern United States, even as far south as Wisconsin, relative to where we saw it in Montana, which is more northeast. Why are these areas under winter weather advisories? Well, there is some snow likely, but it's mainly for the freezing drizzle. Let's take a look at our freezing rain and wintry mix. So you can see there is some snow, but they're not really anything extraordinary, less than half an inch, just a little bit of a nuisance. But the advisory is definitely for that ice. And you can see, mixed expected total snow accumulations up to 1 inch and ice accumulations of light glaze. And freezing rain, all it takes is just a little bit, and you have chaos on the streets. And that doesn't just apply to the south, applies to the north, wherever, right? I mean, it's really hard to drive on ice, especially if you can't see it and you're just zooming like you normally would. Let's take a look at Utah. These areas you can see have a winter weather advisory. It seems like these areas have been just constantly stuck under a winter or some sort of weather alert because of how active it's been. And again, it's to do with snowfall for many of these locations. You can see a winter weather advisory is almost like a storm warning for certain areas, like that 2 to 4, 3 to 7, 3 to 5. So it's a pretty big event for these areas. But again, it's an advisory, so it's not too significant. And you can see that 3 to 6 is locally higher. I think we just clicked on a location that has quite a bit of potential for seeing a big system. Salt Lake City, let's just take a glance. Right now, you can see those warnings. I think those are snow squall warnings. They're probably expired at this point. Well, no, they're still there up until 6:45, and you can see right there, dangerous snow squall was located. It's kind of like a thunderstorm, but in terms of snow. So it's just super intense and drops quite a bit of snow in a short amount of time. And then, of course, across Indiana, we have a hydrologic outlook that is for the rain that is going to be bringing the same snow, or the same storm that's going to be bringing the snow further up north. Let's take a look at this using a good model that I like. It's called the HRR model. It goes, or HRRR. There's many names for it. HRR, some people just say. And let's see what happens. So here's our timeline. This is 10 p.m. today. You can see a bit of snow maybe across the northeast, across, say, Connecticut, Rhode Island, maybe into Massachusetts, a bit across, say, southern Canada. But mainly, it doesn't look like there's nothing going on. And technically on the radar there won't be. You can see 11, 12, midnight, right? It's relatively calm, but look at Missouri, especially Missouri. Look what starts going on right there. Around the late morning hours, or sorry, the early morning hours, late evening, if you want to call that evening, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, you can see all that precip exploding. And the snowy side also developing across North Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, but especially that rainy side. And that is some very, very heavy rain. And notice a bit of snow across Maine and southern Canada at the morning hours tomorrow. Could be impactful morning commute, but mainly Missouri getting slammed by this. You're gonna notice that there is that little sliver of snow that kind of grows, and this is what will bringing that snow to much of Illinois, Iowa, I should say northern Illinois, Wisconsin, Indiana, Michigan, and that will, this is as far as it goes, unfortunately, 18 hours. But through this time frame of 11 o'clock in the morning, it won't reach Chicago. So if you're watching from Chicago or southern Wisconsin, I know I have quite a bit of viewers, you'll be fine through around the 12 p.m. time frame. But the further south you go, the earlier it will come. And, areas like, say, St. Louis will be already well into the thick of the rain by the time tomorrow noon or midnight or noon comes. So this is a quick hitter. It develops seemingly out of nowhere, but it will drop several inches of snow just from a few hours of occurring. Let me show you some high-res models, right? This is the system that you can see right there will be dropping, this is the same system we were looking at, right? And again, let's see what the Canadian one does. You can see eventually everyone converts over to a bit of rain, I would say south of kind of the Wisconsin border. That kind of, if you were to draw that across through Michigan, Ohio, all these areas may start off with snow, eventually turn over to a bit of rain. But again, that warm sector won't go too far north, so the warm-up will just be very marginal. Total snowfall, you can see, boom, decent. I think this is overdone because it's assuming a 10-to-1 ratio. 3 to 5, maybe some 6-inch amounts. Possibly isolated amounts, but generally just a 1 to 3, 1 to 4 inch events, especially for kind of Illinois, Wisconsin, Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, and maybe a bit more as the snowfall ratios grow. Another model I could take a look at is NAM 12KM. You can see this is a pretty big system, pretty big spread of snow that is anywhere from 3 to 5. Again, probably a bit over exaggerated, especially across Ohio and Indiana, but definitely you could see a decent snowfall, especially since, say, my area hasn't seen any snow so far this year whatsoever. So that's definitely going to be kind of, I guess, a fun thing to experience. First snow of the season, albeit very, very, very late. Let's take a look at some other models now and ignore this first system because we're kind of done with it. And I want to start talking about this big one. That's kind of what I title at the beginning, right? It said that there's a potential for a big one, and yes, that the potential is pretty big. So notice that there is a little system that occurs across the Midwest on Thursday, a couple days right after the system tomorrow. We'll have to watch this one. Nothing significant, maybe a few inches of snow for some areas, maybe a bit of ice as well. That kind of scatters off, nothing really too impressive, maybe some snow from Maine and Canada. But look what we start seeing. We see a system across the south, moisture laden. I mean, this thing has all the moisture it wants. Then we have a piece of energy kind of bringing in the cold air from the north. And these two see each other and they just start going at it. They start fighting. And you can see that it kind of, the GFS, the single model by itself, shows two waves. We see a lot of rain across the south. You can see the storm, potentially maybe some sort of severe weather outbreak here. Definitely something to watch for, especially on New Year's. The Storm Prediction Center, I think, already issued a slight risk this far out, which is concerning to say the least. But you can see snow to the north, right? And this thing kind of takes through southern Canada, a bit of ice, a bit of rain across the northeast, and then a little bit of snow through Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas. Look at that right there. Dallas potentially seeing some snowfall if this were to occur. Again, a bit more of that severe weather potentially across the south, a bit of snow across Kentucky, and then that thing zooms off. Now, again, this is just one model with one particular scenario. You can see it's a system that has a lot of potential, and the snow it could drop is significant, especially the southern flank. But it's not the most exciting one, because let me show you what some other models think. The Canadian is a lot more aggressive with this storm. Still, it shows that system around that same time frame, so let's zoom forward and see. That's tomorrow's system, by the way. This one right here that is showing. Boom, this thing goes away. And we see this little small clipper that it talked about. Again, nothing big out of that one. Maybe the Canadian does make it a bit more aggressive for the northeast, so we'll have to watch that on Friday. But there's that big one. You can see those two pieces of energy across the southwest. Boom, we see that system. Lots of rain. A bit further towards the north, you can see more snow into Minnesota, Wisconsin, Minneapolis included. Des Moines, Iowa, right? Michigan, Traverse City, all those cities. North of Toronto, you can see there's going to be some snow as well. So pretty far north, that rain snow line, but it's a lot of a stronger system, and it does almost develop like two low pressures. Look at that. That's a pretty interesting scenario. And again, potentially some severe weather across Kentucky, Arkansas, Tennessee, unfortunately, across that January timeframe. So we'll have to definitely watch that as we head into the new year. And then look, the system takes its sweet old time and, develops a bit of cold, snowy air on it. Definitely brings in a shot of cold air, but we'll just have to watch for this and see whether or not it's more of a Canadian scenario. The GFS, if you recall, the GFS brought some snow across the south. The Canadian, if you were to take a look at it, it doesn't. It brings much more towards the north, but not much towards the south. And I can show you one more model, actually, and I will. It's called the... the one I want to show you is the European model. It's a very good model, and it too shows that system at a pretty intense rating like the other ones, but it's just different. So again, there's tomorrow's system. You can see it skedaddles off, and then we have that little clipper system, whatever. It's kind of from the south, though. Again, we'll have to watch it for the northeast. There are some signs it may bring some decent snow from New Hampshire and Maine. And then look, boom, boom. We have those two pieces. We have those two pieces kind of marry themselves together, if you will. And then look, this system brings it not as far north as the Canadian, not as far south as the GFS, but kind of in the middle. And you can see that brings snow more into Illinois, Michigan, a bit south compared to the Canadian. And it does still bring that severe weather threat, unfortunately, with whichever scenario you look at. And it also shows a lot of cold air. You can see the lake effect off Lake Michigan and a bit of snow into Mississippi, maybe the south, right? Nothing extreme, but a little taste of winter again, potentially some unfortunate severe weather, though, so we'll just have to watch that. And with such a moisture-laden system, it's unfortunately a very good possibility there may be some tornadoes and whatnot. So yeah, bad news about that. But and you can see the pattern later on. The European doesn't really show anything, but it's active, and the cold air isn't far away. So whatever does occur, maybe snow just further south than what we've been seeing this whole winter, which has just been to the north of snow. So in terms of the European model, where it shows the heaviest snow, it's kind of across the Midwest, but it does show that swath of snow across the south. Again, nothing extreme, but a few inches maybe, according to this. Again, very far out, so it's almost ridiculous to see how much snow you might get. But where it does occur, you can see that there are a few amounts that could pick up some decent amounts of snowfall. Total accumulated precip, let's take a look at Outbreak 240. You can see mainly across the south. Again, some of this would come from those several days of severe weather. Potentially, we'll have to watch that. Fortunately, not the best case, not the best case scenario, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Notice that Oregon, right? Washington, California, also picking up decent amounts of rain continuously, just maybe a bit of a calmer pattern. And now I want to show you a few more things, right? I did show you already many models regarding that storm, and I could show you the ensembles, but they basically just mimic these models. Some show a very strong system, I mean, of legendary proportions, dropping 2 feet. Some show more of what the GFS and Canadian show, kind of, or sorry, the Canadian or the GFS shows, just weaker systems, more still potentially, again, a powerful and dangerous with that severe weather. Just again, there's nothing really new that I could present to you, but I want to show you the long range pattern. So I've been talking about the storm, the one that's occurring tomorrow, the one that will occur on the weekend, and now I just want to focus on the long term regarding the cold air, because you've been probably hearing a lot about it. It's been very cold to the north and west. Cities like Seattle, Portland, that usually don't see snow really, sometimes even at all, saw some snow, and then the south has been in a heat wave. You've probably taken part in either on one of those extremes. And look what the future brings. So these are basically a set of models, not just one or two or three. It's like many combined to show a more average look at what the temperatures may do. All right, so notice this is at this point Sunday, January 2nd, and it's after that system, and the cold air really pushes much of that warm air out. Now, again, I don't think it will be as dominant that cold air will be just continuously shoving itself all the way into the southern United States, but I do think that in the long term, and I've been saying this, that the cold air will be more dominant than the warm air, especially after any given storm system. There's this giant air mass, the storm develops, it taps into that, and it kind of brings a shot of extreme cold. Now, the south, it may just honestly stay warm for much of the time, but you could see the northern plains. Look at that. That's a very significant anomaly for being this far out, and being shown by this many models, because again, this isn't just one model. So yeah, this is definitely a bit of concern. You don't really want to see extreme cold widespread. It's very dangerous, especially not to the south. Thankfully, this one's located more towards the north, but again, all it takes is a favorable pattern or a little storm, and this could make its way into the south. Remember, Texas last year just got absolutely blasted by that cold. Not saying it will be a repeat, but notice how there's a lot less warmth in the long range, right? I mean, you're not seeing as much orange colors. It's more blue. And right now, that's the current map. So hopefully you're seeing the contrast, right? It looks as if winter will really kick into gear regarding at least the cold. The snow, we'll have to see. Most likely, yes, because they are pretty usually a tightly correlated, cold and snow, right? Notice, yeah, the warm air does make occasional comebacks, though it doesn't go way far to the north. It's just a lot less weaker than the ones we've been seeing. I mean, right on Christmas Eve here, I saw 60 degrees, which is truly just remarkable. It wasn't even the best feeling in the world to see that type of temperature contrast or anomaly. Just didn't feel like Christmas. And then look, this is a GEPS. Another set of models, right? And you can see they show the same thing. Those two bickering air masses, they show a lot of cold air, even more extreme than what the other set of ensembles show. And again, they show that warm air occasionally making comebacks, maybe for the southern United States, maybe the east. But really, the cold air is kind of the one with the upper hand here and staying more dominant. So I guess it'll feel like winter. Just might give a heck of a taste to many folks this winter blast. And you can see that by the time we go to the end of this forecast period into early January to mid of January, we see this kind of centered across the southern United States, this cold air, or that's where it stops. So really a significant portion of the United States is just cold, and it's consistent cold. It doesn't look, it's not if it's just like one air mass, there, and then it's gone. It looks as if there could be just day after day of very cold temperatures. Let's take a look at some of the actual temperatures now. Obviously, here it's going to be warm relatively, but look at the Midwest, upper Midwest. I mean, they're just going to be dealing with very, very cold temperatures. Many days just kind of in the single digits, right? And obviously, we'll have to wait and see. It's less extreme the further you go out because they're not confident, but that's definitely below average. And, given that some of these temperatures are already this cold this early out into December, it looks most definitely not good. Again, I like cold, I like snow, but just not this extreme. Look at that, those little pincers, you could see those could definitely make their way decently far south. Look at that, potentially the Canadian shows negatives into Illinois, Wisconsin next weekend, which is probably an exaggeration, but it shows you that it may stay up to the north for a little bit, and then all it takes is just to dive down. All right, that's basically it, guys. I know this is a pretty long video, but I wanted to give an extent kind of coverage of this, and I'll catch you all in the next episode. See ya.